The Côte d'Ivoire opened up their campaign with a big fat 1-0 win over Ecuador to boost their chances to make it through to the knockout stages. What does that mean for the grand old plan? Well, we'll get into it, all of it, next. That's right, folks, back once again with another video. Today we take a look back at the Ivory Coast victory over Ecuador last night. That's right, Ivory Coast and their young squad, the youngest squad on in the competition, against the second youngest squad in the competition, or there or thereabouts. We'll get into all of that and more in just a second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe. You want to show Football and Rovers World Cup previews and reviews. We've got it all here under one roof. Of course, Group E is alive and well now. Of course, Ecuador, a lot of folks' dark horse, might have been outdone here in this World Cup, losing on their opening day. Of course, can they bounce back? Well, we'll talk about all of that in a second. Big shout out to my members, big shout out to the pages, big shout out to you. Make sure you subscribe. Can we get 48 likes on this one? These are a tall order over in the review section, but let's see if we can get 48 likes. Can we? Anyway, let's talk about the game. What a game it was, despite it being just the 1-0 and 90 minutes or so without a goal. This was a quite lively game, and Ecuador, honestly, a little bit hard done by to walking away with absolutely nothing in this game. It looked like it was going to be a draw purely on the fact of the ball would not go in the back of the net. The woodwork was hit 3 or 4 times. I don't even know, especially Ecuador in the first half dominated. Ivory Coast dominated the second half. But the deadlock was unlocked by a wunderkind, if you like. A lot of eyes on the prize were on that of Yan Diamande, which, of course, he did lit up the show there. Spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, but weird fact is that, he went to school just down the road, maybe about 15 miles down the road, Yan Diamande, over at the Yulee High School. He played for the football team there. So all of a sudden, he's got a bit of a new fan base in this household. So we're going to cheer on the local lad who lit up the show down that right-hand side. So kudos for him. But it was Amad Diallo with the goal and the highlights stealer to make a great old presence felt in this World Cup. And don't get me wrong, these two nations can play football. But it also looked a little bit like helter-skelter at some stage, and we've seen that a couple of times in this World Cup. Clashes of style, but these sort of styles were both kitchen sink-ish sort of football, but they kind of complemented each other because they both were back and forth and looked good on the ball, looked lively. But anyway, there had to be a loser. Well, there didn't have to be a loser, but there was a loser, and that was Ecuador. Anyway, as you can see, shots here 15-12 for Ivory Coast. Quick look at the possession stats there, 48% for Ivory Coast, 52 for that of Ecuador. So that's that. What about, of course, the key personnel? Well, let's take a look at the starting 11s and for these two squads. We saw Yahim Fofana between the sticks there, Wilfred Seningo, Emmanuel Abdaou, Gilsain Conan, and Gue Doué making up a back 4. Meanwhile, to midfield, Sekou Fofana, Frank Kessie, Benjamin Traoré, Yan Diamande in the midfield. Up top, it was Nicolas Pepe and Ivoire. Up top with the squad valuation around about 241 million euros. As for Ecuador, Hernan Galindez, who's 39 years of age, is in between the sticks there. A back 4 of William Pacho, Joel Odonis, Pierre Ecape, and Alan Franco. Meanwhile, of course, the midfield of Moses Caicedo, Pedro Vete, Alan Minda, and John Yaboa. And up top, Gonzalo Plata in Valencia to make the starting like that. The valuation of that squad, 292 million. We did see some substitutions from both sides. Olasun Kolososoro coming on there. We also saw Imam Sangari, Christ Ulali, and Amad Diallo and Anyun Boni to make it some wholesome changes against good value on that bench as well for the Ivory Coast. So they ain't these guys have got quality in this team. So meanwhile, as for the Ecuadorians, we saw the likes of Jackson Pronto coming on, Angelo Prostedo, Nelson Engalo, and Kevin Rodriguez, but ultimately they couldn't change the game in the way that Diallo did. Now, as you can see from the performances here, 7.09 for Côte d'Ivoire. As for Ecuador, 6.59. The man of the match really being Diamande on that right-hand side, but also standouts for that back 4 there of Conan, Abagdu, Singo, and Doué. As for the Ecuadors, the man of the match for them, Vinte in midfield, Franco as well, Galindez also being lively between the sticks. As you can see, the drama down the bottom of the field here for the Ivory Coast and Ecuador. But it was only the one goal, 68,000 in attendance for that game. And of course, the situation leaves the group looking like this. Germany top the pops there with Ivory Coast level on points with 3. After the first round of games. Goal difference again could be huge. So against those games against Curacao, going to be absolutely vital to see separate the first from second and third in this group, because I do think Germany had it easy, very, very easy in that first game, but it's going to get difficult next with the Ivory Coast waiting in the wings, and of course Ecuador taking on Curacao on the 21st of June. So that's of course the situation all over there. What about the situation, of course, in the Twitter sphere? Let's scroll down a little bit here. Not much to talk about. We've got BD here says, Bamba Diop says, congratulations, never again will Ahmad sit on the bench. Meanwhile, McCardinal says, I'm proud of you, congrats. Soccer 757, it wasn't simply a lucky goal in the 90th minute, it was a masterclass in managing phases of play by Amos Faye. As soon as Faye brought on Diallo and shifted demanded to the left, the pitch opened up, forcing Pacho out of position. That's his comments on it. Meanwhile, Amazon Kurari Tufan Ankansa says, Côte d'Ivoire has the superhuman physical strength and high technical skills to secure a comfortable win over Ecuador, but their recklessness, lack of discipline and mentality prevented them from achieving the desired goal. In truth, they do not realise their own value and power. Meanwhile, Alnaldo says, well done, brothers, well done. Meanwhile, Isaac said, the good thing is that the third place qualifies. Otherwise, we'd already be eliminated. He's in respect for the Ecuadorians here. We got Urge X George. Why again? The same crap every 4 years. We're worth nothing. If we couldn't beat these, we couldn't even show up against Germany, or we shouldn't show up against Germany. Already sick of this. They can't manage a draw, and the worst part is Diallo scored on us. Meanwhile, Sebastian said, if Ecuador wants to make a leap in quality, it must hire a quality coach. If we keep going with the mediocre coaches, the first round of the World Cup is the most we can aspire to do. We must think big for the next one. And finally, a couple here. Rather than blaming the players and the coach, we have to recognise that Côte d'Ivoire has good players, tall with long strides. The bad part, the lack of efficiency, the passes always going backwards, and that's not from today. Ecuador is missing the playmaking and thread the needle. And then finally, Joey Frank says, it's unbelievable how they keep overhauling the national team, always painting it as a surprise, and today it has shown that it still has a lot to learn. So those are some of the comments made online, of course. What about you guys? How smart were you? Well, this was the prediction before the game. 46% of you, shame on you, went with Ecuador, and 36% went with Ivory Coast. 80% went with the draw. As for the ping pong balls went in favour of Ecuador, and of course the cat, she got it right, went with Ivory Coast, so she knows what she's talking about. Well, there you have it, folks. There you bloody have it. Do you agree? Do you disagree with those performances and those ratings, of course? And what are your hopes and expectations if you are a Côte d'Ivoire fan or an Ecuador fan? Can you bounce back? Can you get those points needed to qualify for those knockout stages? Until then, though, subscribe, smash the like, catch you later. We're done.